Software-defined sensing for mobility and logistics. Well, joining us today to speak about that, Andew Nelson, Vice President of Trucking at AEye Inc. Andrew, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Russell.
Andrew, I think it's probably fair to say that somebody watching the video is a little curious about the terminology, software-defined sensing. They don't know what that means. I know I didn't until I spoke with you earlier. So let's define our terms. What are we talking about? What does that mean?
What software-defined means is that in an environment, you can see different things. So the same way our eyes look further down the road in a highway, look for, it could be debris or animals. In an environment where we're merging onto a highway, there's a lot of vehicles, a lot of stuff happening, kind of going to and from. And so we want to see different things. And so software-defined means that the customer, whether it be referencing an HD map, whether it be seeing other things, they can determine where they want to view and with how much resolution. So you always have a LiDAR that can do what's needed at the moment it's needed for the driving environment.
Okay, now you used another word that might need some definition for some folks, LiDAR. What does that mean?
Well, LiDAR very basically is you're sending out pulses of light. So unlike a camera, you are impervious to external environments. You don't need the sun to illuminate a scene. Mm-hmm. At darkness, cameras really struggle. You're sending out pulses of lights, hundreds of thousands of times a second, and based off how long it takes for that pulse to get back, speed of light to constant, you can determine how far things are away.
Okay, so we've defined now software-defined sensing. So I guess the question is, where is this most popular and what is it really accomplishing?
The most popular here, I think, is based on an opinion, but long range, high resolution is where it's most popular, and you can find that on interstate highways.
Okay.
So you have the ability to, Class 8 semi-truck has to be able to see, and LiDAR can see, cars in front of cars when they're stopping, so you're not waiting for a brake light. And so you also can manage the environment so that if you see debris at 62 miles per hour, whether it's a crate that could blow out a tire or a plastic bag, you need to be able to know what that is hundreds of meters away so you can make the most safely decision of changing lanes, slowing down, etc.
So clearly the trucking industry is very much interested in this technology, no doubt about it.
Not interested, currently evaluating the technology.
Mm-hmm.
There's other industries that are interested here with robotaxi, with ADAS, but the first deployable use case at scale will be Class 8 semi-trucks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about autonomous trucking. Is this something that can be deployed at scale there?
Well, I want to be very clear. What we define as autonomous trucking is like a level 4 where it can take over the driving in a certain environment, that environment being an interstate highway. We're going to need drivers for our lifetime. They still basically could use urban environments. There's no replacing that, suburban environments. But the mundane, long distances, let alone a driver shortage, means when you have the ability to autonomously drive in a controlled environment on the interstate and then hand it off to a driver either before or after, keeping drivers a lot closer to their family, and also a much more enjoyable job function.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about how software-defined sensing can aid logistics and supply chain. I guess the question is, are there other applications, for this type of technology?
Yes, automated truck yards here, the basically movement of assets, know what actual parking spots are available for a truck drive in the yard, having what they call a yard dog pull and autonomously pull a trailer to the trucker, so when he pulls in, he doesn't have to look for his payload. Also, you have a middle mile and last mile. So again, the whole point of software-defined sensing is that we don't care what vehicle we're on. If you're on a vehicle that has a lower height, you can define what you want the LiDAR to be. So UPS Class 6 trucks or Amazon, you have also very small vehicles depending on the urban or suburban environment. So it can adapt and be defined regardless of vehicle size, which is huge for scalability, cost reduction, and volumes.
Mm-hmm. Taking notes on what we were talking about earlier, looking at the LiDAR community, what is it that folks there have to say about the role of software-defined sensing in the future of automotive? What do they say?
Well, I would say the first thing they say is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when with LiDAR.
Mm-hmm.
That might, what are they saying, might differ, but as far as deployable use cases and needing to have sensors, regardless of whether you're a radar, a camera, or a LiDAR, you cannot be specific to how you purchase it. There has to be definability over time. And if done in the appropriate and secure way, software definability is the path you want to entertain here to be future-proof.
Government organizations, now I'm sure there's interest there. So what are they saying about this particular type of technology, and global vendors for that matter? What is their view?
I think the government wants to keep a very active role to understand what the technology is and is not. So if that is very small deployable test pilots or items, they want to understand what this is and where it can correctly be used. So a defined shuttle route from popular locations of a city to the airport, where the airport's always controlled, and you're just doing the same thing back and forth. It can make an automated shuttle with next to zero risk is very valuable to them. But the governments here, I would say, without going any further, it is clear that in the United States here, because of the interstate and because of the very wide roads and other things, many grid system cities will be the first deployable continent at scale versus some European countries.
I must say this is a really, really interesting drill down that you have given us into this technology. It's really been quite interesting. A final question though, Andrew. There's got to be somebody out there who's saying, well, I want to know a little bit more about AEye Inc., just exactly what it does and how it's optimizing the operations of its customer base. So walk us through that. Just tell us a little bit about the company. What's it doing?
Yep. So AEye has a software definable LiDAR, and the path we've chosen, which is within the industry perceived very well, is that we are outsourcing manufacturing to Continental. We are the design provider, the IP of the technology. Continental builds it. Continental is a tier one that has sold hundreds of millions of cameras and radar. You probably know them from tires, but they're a very trusted entity with 15 of the top global OEMs. And so focusing on our core competency, AEye is determined to, in the next 5 years, and really seeing meaningful deployments in the next 3 to 5 years. But software definable LiDAR means you're not stuck with the hardware you buy, then having to upgrade it. The hardware is a means to get the software and determine where to look and when. The last part of that is, can you robustly manufacture it and reduce the cost so that the ROI can be achieved, and Continental will do that for us.
Great.
So Google Continental or AEye, you will see a lot of information.
All right, very, very good. This is a great look at this very interesting technology today, and it's going to be extraordinarily interesting as it evolves over the next several years.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you very much, Russell.
Software-defined sensing for mobility and logistics. Andew Nelson with AEye Inc. speaking with us today about that very important technology. Thanks for watching.